19 days, 3 hours, and about 20 minutes, give or take, but who's counting? We are on Big East Shootaround because college basketball season is less than 3 weeks away, and we are counting down the days with you live from New York City with plenty to come on today's show. Last week, Big East Media Day at Madison Square Garden. A wrap-up of that to come. Xavier head coach Travis Steele enters year 2 with different expectations and a new attitude that he learned from his first year on the job. I'll sit down with him as well on the show, and a new style for the Marquette Golden Eagles. We know that Big East reigning Player of the Year Marcus Howard is back, but there'll be a difference around him. All that and more. But let's kick it off with 5 takeaways from Big East Media Day, starting with a fitting number 1. The Seton Hall Pirates picked to win the Big East for the first time since 1992 with the Big East preseason Player of the Year, Myles Powell. First Pirate to get that honor since Terry DeHare. You could sense inside Madison Square Garden last week that Seton Hall is relishing the expectations. And keep in mind, 2 years ago, this was a preseason top 25 team, but Kevin Willard felt like they didn't approach the season correctly. He has a changed mentality and is pushing his group in the preseason. The question for Seton Hall, will they get consistent complementary scoring beyond Powell? If they do, that's why this program has the expectations to get to their first Sweet 16 since 2000. Number 2, Villanova. A star-studded freshman class was getting talked about by the veterans last week at Big East Media Day. You've got Jermaine Samuels and Colin Gillespie leading this team, and Samuels said that he's impressed with the way these freshmen have embraced Villanova basketball. Justin Moore and Eric Dixon. Those are the two that maybe you're not hearing as much about because you've heard about Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Brian Antoine, but according to those around Villanova, Moore has really impressed in the preseason, and you've got Robinson Earl who expects to make an immediate impact. You can get your first look at the Wildcats tomorrow night at USC on the Pac-12 network. Number 3, Georgetown. Patrick Ewing believes that the Hoyas can take the next step. Why? He returns 36 points per game from a freshman class that, again, was just freshmen. James Akinjo, Mac McClung, Josh LeBlanc. That's a dynamic trio. Yes, you lose 17 and 7 per game in Jesse Govant. What did they do to address that? They bring in an NC State impact transfer, Omer Yurtseven, who Ewing really likes. If he can deliver and those freshmen take a leap to sophomore season, then Georgetown can appear in the big dance for the first time in 5 years. Let's turn to the Xavier Musketeers. They won 8 of their final 11 last year, and they kept saying on Media Day that this upcoming season started in those 11 games last year. Why? Because Najee Marshall turned on the Jets and really delivered for this Xavier team. You bring back virtually everybody that made a high impact for you, and you welcome in a top 25 recruiting class according to 24/7 Sports. That is a great mixture. You're going to hear about that in just minutes from the second-year head man, Travis Steele. But for this Musketeers team, they defended at a high level at the end of last year, and they believe that can carry over into this season. Finally, number 5 is that this league is going to be a monster this season. You have had over 5 NCAA tournament teams on average in the Big East. Talking to all 10 teams last week at Media Day, it wasn't just coach speak or classic preseason talk. There's a realistic expectation across the board of teams who believe that they have a realistic shot of making it to the NCAA tournament in 2020. What does that mean? There are no off nights in this conference. That round-robin schedule, buckle your seatbelt up because there's going to be a race at the top, and the parity in this league is going to be off the charts because trying to find out the middle of this league is like trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube. It is going to have no rhyme or reason. You just heard about some takeaways from Big East Media Day. Now here's some of the best from the world's most famous arena. Thanks to Kenny G for helping us out on the instrumental. By the way, if you haven't seen Ed Cooley's party get crashed yet, go to @BigEastMBB on Twitter because that was epic. Let's turn to the Marquette Golden Eagles. This was a 25-win team last season that went to the NCAA tournament for the second time in 3 years. But you lose Sam and Joey Hauser, and so there are question marks heading into this campaign for the Golden Eagles. But what is known as Marcus Howard is back, a reigning Big East Player of the Year, 1,955 career points, just 45 away from becoming the first Marquette men's basketball player with 2,000. And on top of that, folks, think about this. He's already in the top 30 in Big East all-time scoring in regular season games. Howard, in all likelihood, if he stays healthy, will break Lawrence Moden's all-time record. That is special. Over 1,000 points in the Big East in just 3 years. I mean, off the charts. So we know about him, but what's going on beyond them? They're playing a new style. We got all that and more in Milwaukee earlier this month. Steve, as you enter this sixth season, what are the expectations?
Well, we have high expectations. I really love our group. We have a number of guys that have been a part of our program for an extended period of time that have achieved a certain level of success. We want to build on what we've done to this point. We want to challenge for Big East championships. Obviously, want to get to the big dance and make a deep run in the big dance.
What needs to change for this group to do those types of things?
Well, obviously we need to finish the year better. We, for 3/4 of the year and maybe even more of that last year, our guys really did a great job. We just didn't finish strong. So first thing, we need to finish stronger. This team's going to be an evolution. We're going to have to learn because it's going to be a little bit different than teams in the past. We got to hang our hat on defense and rebounding. We made a significant improvement in that area last year. We need to make the same type of improvement. And then offensively, we need to be more balanced. And that's all the things that we're talking about heading into the season.
Let's stick with the interior, that defense, and then on the glass. Theo John led the Big East in blocks a year ago. Obviously, he's a big part of this. How much could you go bigger down low at the 4 and the 5 slots?
Well, I think there's going to be significant portions of each game where we do play two more traditional bigs, which, as I said, has been different than what we've done. We've been primarily 4 around 1. I think this year we're going to see lineups where we have two big guys in the game, whether that's Theo and Ed or Jason Ed or Jason Theo, where you have more traditional old school lineups. And in order for those lineups to work, we have to be physical, we have to be gritty, we have to be a paint team, and I think our guys will embrace that.
To find that scoring balance, when you have a player that's as good of a scorer as Marcus Howard is, how do you try to get things to balance out?
Well, you always want Marcus to be in attack mode. You don't want him to change, you want him to improve. And I think that's one of the things that people mischaracterize. We want him to be a scorer. We need him to score the ball. We need him to, though, improve on his decision making when those plays aren't there, when he has two guys on him, to be able to find the open man and continue to improve on his decision making. And I have full confidence he will.
When you're looking at impact transfers around the Big East, this guy will come to mind. It's the Utah State transfer Kobe Mcewen with 2 years of eligibility for the Golden Eagles, and he will be alongside Marcus Howard in the 2019-20 campaign. Yes, Kobe, you were not on the court for last year. You watched the way last year ended, though. Mm-hmm. How much is this serving as motivation?
It's a great deal of motivation. Coach reminds us about it every day. We remind ourselves about it every day in the weight room, in practice, and meetings that we have. It's something that's kind of burning inside of us. We want to be able to finish what we started. We started off the year last year really good, top 10. Winning a lot of games in a row. But just at the end of the year, we just didn't have it, and that's something that's motivating us to this day. just being able to bring it in practice every day. We got to be a great practice team. I think that's just going to help allow us to finish.
A lot of coaches, at least when I talk to them, they talk about the idea that all around college basketball, if you're not watching what other coaches do, what are you doing? Because it's that type of business. Who do you like to watch?
Well, you don't have to look further than our league. Our league has great coaches, and in the off season we study not only our program but what other schools are doing to be successful. And you look at the coaches in our league, all of them bring something to the table that's at an elite level, and so we try to pick things up from all of them. Even though we don't like playing against them all the time, there's a lot to learn from them.
Who do you bond with on text sometimes?
Coaching-wise in our league, I don't know who doesn't bond with Cooley. Like, he's like the Pied Piper, but one of the things that makes our league unique is I think coaches get along, and everybody does it the right way. It's wildly competitive, but I think there's respect and a camaraderie amongst the coaches that I'm not sure if you see that in other leagues, and that's what makes being a part of our conference so fun.
Coach, best of luck this year.
Thank you.
Talk with Steve Wojciechowski, and sitting in on Marquette's practice, the physicality stood out right away. Jace Johnson, the Utah transfer, figures to be a big part in that renewed mentality for Marquette to try to get tougher. You've got Theo John, who led the Big East in shot blocks last year, and you've got Ed Morrow, a Nebraska transfer. There are options down low, and one thing that stands out on top of all that, because a lot of people are asking, how are they going to compensate for the loss of Sam and Joey Hauser? Kobe Mcewen can create his own shots. Late in games, that's going to change things up for Marquette, because it gives you an option in the backcourt to help Marcus Howard, but somebody who can say, hey, I can do this myself and take it to the rim if everybody's going towards Howard defensively. So, interesting approach being taken by the Golden Eagles, who will get tested right away. Early tests against Purdue and Wisconsin. Let's turn to Xavier. They did finish strongly last year, winning 8 of their final 11. Travis Steele, though, he talked about an additional sacrifice, because when you have depth, that is key. Here's my full preseason sit-down with the Xavier second-year head coach. Great to be joined by Xavier second-year head coach Travis Steele. Earlier this week, big news for the Steele family. Let's go off the court, because you have an addition, Anderson Michael Steele. How's the baby and the family?
The baby is doing great. My wife's home, the baby's home, sleeping a little bit through the night, which is good. So we had it's our second son, so now we got a backcourt, John. So we're good to go.
Congratulations on the addition. I'm sure Winston, older brother, he's already waiting for him out on the court.
Yeah, no, he thought he was going to come out of the womb ready to go. Play basketball, play soccer. So it's a little bit of an adjustment for him, but he's doing great. He's really excited.
Well, that's awesome for the Steele family. And now you're still doing everything, because we're right in the thick of things in the preseason, Coach. It's a busy time of year. Heading into this season, how will this Xavier team be different from a year ago?
I think we're more mature. I think we'll play with more poise. Coming from our older players, they've been through a year of being played through guys, Tyreek, Quentin, Najee, and Paul. And I thought as the year went on last year, they became much more poised in the game situation. Then I think we're going to be deeper. I think our depth, our athleticism is better. I think our pieces fit really, really well together. So really excited about our group.
How could that depth allow you to play faster?
Yeah, we're going to have to play faster, because we got to be able to play 9 guys. We got to push the ball off of misses and makes. Last year, John, we were pumping the brakes off of misses, everything. We had to really control the tempo. But we got to be able to push it. And we got to be able to pick up a little bit more full court, probably man-to-man, try to wear down opponents just with our depth and athleticism.
Let's stick with Najee Marshall. Obviously, he's your guy, but around this conference, there's a lot of different players who can rise to the occasion time and again. Where would you put him in that category?
Yeah, I think he's as good as any player in our league. When you take, basketball's just not played on one end of the floor. He is an incredible defender. I think he could be the best defender in the entire country. He can guard anybody. He's 6'7", he's long, he's athletic, he's tough, he's got good instincts. He thrives on that end, and obviously he does make big plays on the offensive end as well, big shots. He's a playmaker with great size. He can pass the ball. So I'm really excited about him. I think he's taken a big jump this offseason.
Among that returning experience as well, there's plenty of depth and options there. It's something to think. Quentin Gooden seems like he's been around forever, but he's back. Paul Scruggs back. Tyreek Jones back. What have they done to usher in this freshman class?
They've done a good job of leading. It's funny. We went to Spain this summer, and we were able to see kind of Tyreek Jones be able to put his arm around Zach Freemantle and show him the ropes. Talk to him about our terminology, how we do things, drills, which was really good to see. Quentin, same thing with a guy like Kiki Tandy. He's really put his arm around him. Paul's put his arm around Damir. And it's good to see that chemistry that we already have is probably ahead of where we were last year. And our team gets along really, really well together. And I think Spain helped kind of speed up that process. But our older guys have done a really good job showing those young guys the ropes so far.
How much of that do you think started at the end of last year?
I think a lot of it. I think it clicked for our guys late. I think we started defending a lot better, and those guys started understanding, hey, what it takes to win. It's not about scoring and all that. We got to be able to take care of the ball so we can get our defense set, but we got to be a really good defensive team. If we'd have just taken the last 11 games of the year as the whole season, we'd have been the 24th ranked best defense in the country, which again equates, and that was against all NCAA tournament or NIT teams, so good teams. And if we can do that, then we're going to put ourselves in a position to win a lot of games. And we're trying to tell our guys that winning is the only thing that matters.
Right.
And it's all that matters. And it's about just, are you impacting winning? It's not necessarily about maybe the minutes that you play or the shot attempts that you get. As everything, when even at Winston's age right now, age 6, that's what everybody glorifies, scoring, right? We try to de-emphasize that and emphasize everything else. And just trying to get our chemistry right and understand that, hey, everybody on our team is going to have to sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, then we won't win. And if we are willing to sacrifice things, then we have a chance to be a pretty good team.
What are your expectations for the Big East?
I think it'll be the best country best conference in the entire country, and I don't think it'll even be really close. You look at the programs, you look at the coaches in our league, you look at the players. Marcus Howard, Miles Powell, Kamara Baldwin. The list. You can keep on going on and on and on. Alpha Diallo. There's incredible players that are older in our league. I think we'll have the deepest league in the entire country.
And I don't want you to reveal this because it's private, but how tough did that make your preseason ballot?
Yeah, it's hard. You go through and you start thinking, hey man, there's so many good players, and there's so many good teams, and there's so much parity, and it's going to be fun. There's no off nights in the Big East.
What was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself from year one on this job that you take into the second year?
I think just, being comfortable with who you are. And who you are is good enough. And I can't be Chris Mack, can't be Chris or Sean Miller, or Thad Matta. I was able to work for the last 3 head coaches that have been here at Xavier, but I'm my own guy. And I'm going to do it my own way, put my own little spin on the program. But also just understanding it's about managing people. I think so many years you go through and it's like, hey, you're an assistant coach. You try to do a great job at what you do. And then when you become head coach, you got to be able to delegate, be willing to delegate, and be able to hold people accountable to get their jobs done.
Finally, season ticket sales are at a record pace here at Xavier, and the fan support off the charts.
Yeah.
What do you make of just the continual growth of this fan support?
Yeah, it's incredible. It makes Centos obviously one of the hardest places to play in all college basketball. It's every game having a packed house. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't. And our fans are incredible. And give kudos to Brian Hicks and Brett Sanders here that work here at Xavier, kind of help get those season tickets sold. They do a great job, but our fan base is as good as any in the entire country.
This place will be rocking. They're counting down the days to the crosstown shootout. I know the tents are already getting set up outside. I can already hear them.
That's exactly right.
Coach, congratulations on the baby. Good
Thank
luck
you.
this season.
Thanks, sounds good.
Nobody does pyrotechnics quite like the Xavier Musketeers at the Seton Center. The blood is already flowing thinking about that crowd. 10,000 strong, give or take. It is loud inside that Seton Center, an on-campus arena that really is part of the special atmospheres across the Big East Conference. And for Xavier, They're counting down the days to the season. They're counting down the days to that crosstown shootout. You can already sense it in Cincinnati. They believe they can get back to where they're so familiar with, the NCAA tournament in 2020. Coming up next week on the show, the preseason whip around continues. More team previews of what is a highly anticipated 2019-20 campaign in this conference. With over 30 starters back from last season. You think about it, experience wins in March. That's what they say, and that is a theme across the Big East. So more season previews to come. We'll talk about your questions. That's right, early next week I'll ask you for your questions. That's always a great segment as we open up the mailbox. And preseason award watch lists, they are coming in and flowing all throughout this week. We'll break them down, take a deep dive, all on next week's Shoot Around. Follow along on BigEast.com, at BigEastMBB on Twitter, and feel free to chime away 24/7 whenever you want at John_Fanta. As we say, enjoy your weekend. Just less than 3 weeks away until another journey to March begins. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for watching Big East Shoot Around.